Ladies and gents, it's Wednesday, and channel deaths be damned. We're putting all of our eggs into a Rwanda bill-shaped basket. Also, Sunak and Shaps commit 75 billion to defence over the next 5 years, which begs the question. Wait, what? As civilians? Does Sunak's wife have that much money? It's time for an alternative paper review.
Prince Andrew's a nonce burger.
First up to the Telegraph, though, who have this cheeky little byline suggesting children who started school in the pandemic may fare worse. So that's nice, isn't it? I mean, it's nice of the Telegraph to suddenly care about young people, isn't it? We're talking about a journo-political class of people who normally, when they hear the concerns of the youth of today, they're like, oh, I don't know what you're complaining about. You know, when I was a lad, we used to eat ivy for breakfast. We used to eat ivy and holly bush leaves. That was our breakfast. And then we would wash it all down with muddy rainwater. That's what we do. Don't come at me complaining about the cost of your favourite cereal has doubled, you shoe-shining vagrant. The piece suggests children who started school in lockdowns are likely to suffer the worst results as a result of the pandemic, which is an interesting take, I think. I mean, you see what they're doing here, right? You see what they're doing. They're observing the state of British education, right? With the rack concrete crumbling and burying itself in your classmate's head while you're just trying to learn your algebra. The unqualified teachers, in air quotes, who are actually teaching assistants, the packed classrooms, the staff who are frequently on strike, cash-strapped local authorities having to make tough decisions, schools asking parents to tell their kids to bring in their own bog roll. Looking at the state of all that and then going, oh, these poor kids are suffering, aren't they? God damn those lockdowns. Is there any end to the suffering they've caused? Meanwhile, over to the Eye, the Mail, the Telegraph and the Times, all hyping Shaps and Sunak's commitment to drop 75 billion on the armed forces over the next 5 years. Now, on the face of it, maybe you're thinking this doesn't sound like a bad policy, right? You know, Russia is a growing threat to the West. China has been declared an adversarial state. Maybe it would make sense to update and upgrade our cash-strapped and austerity-ravaged armed forces. What could possibly be bad about that, eh? Well, allow me to enlighten you with trademark darkness. Because they don't actually want to do this. Even if they did want to do it, they can't afford to do this. Don't forget, it was only a few weeks ago that Hunt was tipping tables over in the Treasury, desperate to find 8 billion to fund a tax cut. Now you're telling me he's got a cool 75 to the side, ready to go? Get some sleep. And think back to a few weeks before that, when they cancelled HS2, which was for 60 billion, because they couldn't afford it. You think they have more than that now, just sat to the side waiting? Of course not. Of course they don't. What this is, all any of this is theatre. It is the Tories saying, we want to pledge 75 billion to be used for our armed forces, to upgrade them, etc., in the run-up to a general election that they know they're going to lose. And then, when they're sat on the opposite side at the dispatch box, when Labour are forced to make tough decisions and row back on this commitment, then they can stand there and go, same old Labour. They hate Britain. They don't take national security seriously. They've left us vulnerable. Indeed, it is cowardly, cynical, and manipulative. Oh, but no, wait. No, I read in the Express that they're going to pay for it by binning the civil service. Oh, right, okay. Okay, yes, that's right. So the Express are reporting this morning that the government would plan to meet this budgetary requirement by binning 70,000 jobs in the civil service. Which, even if that was doable, which it's fucking not if you want a functioning government, but even if they did axe 70,000 jobs across the civil service, let's say they got an average salary of like £40,000 for each one of those jobs, right? 40,000 times 70,000, that wouldn't even give you half the amount of money that they say that they're going to allocate to the armed forces. So where is that money coming from? Unless, oh wait, hang on a second. What is it that Rishi Sunak has actually said? Did he actually say 75 billion? Rishi Sunak vows to boost UK defence spending to get it to 2.5% of GDP by 2030. Oh, right. Right, I see. So he didn't say 75 billion, he said 2.5% of our GDP. So possibly the plan is to keep trashing the economy, keep soiling our relationship with our neighbours, keep making it harder to import and export. So year on year, our economy continues to shrink, we get ravaged by recession, so that eventually our GDP has shrunk to the point that 2.5% of it actually just comes out at exactly what they're spending already today. It's shrewd of old Rishi Sunak, isn't it? Because that is basically your option, is fiddle the figures with the GDP, or I suppose you could pay for it by shuttering public services, because nobody's going to be paying for this by tackling tax avoidance. So these are your options. Fiddle the figures, cook the books for the 2.5%, or shutter an A&E, a local school, and a care home. Which, if you're, living in a fantasy, if you're Rishi Sunak, and you still believe that you'd be Prime Minister in 2030, well, that's going to be a really weird situation. If they do actually meet this spending requirement, right? 75 billion, and they pay for it by closing a hospital, closing a care home, and then 2030, right? You're sat outside a shuttered A&E, your arms hanging off from a gardening accident, and there's an old lady that's dead next to you from a totally treatable illness. And then along comes Rishi. He's met his defence spending targets. He's like, yeah, don't you feel safer? The threads of your arm are just hanging off, arteries pumping. I spent all that money on tanks and missiles and laser-guided guns and stuff. Don't you feel safer, though? Dead old lady just slumps on the floor. You're just slowly passing out. You'd be like, not really.